Hello everyone, my name is Roya, and today I'm going to be telling you all about the books that I've read in the latter half of February, and it's a lot of books because I ended up listening to a ton of audiobooks because I was moving, and I think that's what did it. So anyway, yeah, let's just get started. The first book I finished in the latter half of February is an audiobook, and that is Wishful Drinking by Carrie Fisher. And this is one of Carrie Fisher's memoirs that covers kind of her growing up and part of her time in the movie industry and whatnot. And she is a very, very funny narrator. This book is written so hilariously and amazingly. She actually narrates the audiobook herself, and if she were still alive, I would say she should narrate like all the audiobooks in the whole wide world because she's just so good. So I really, really enjoyed this so much, and I can't wait to read some more of her memoirs. The next thing that I finished was also an audiobook, and that was The Winter's Kiss by Marie Rudkowski. This is the third and final book in the Winter's trilogy, and I didn't like it as much as I liked the first two. I thought the first two were so good, but this one was just very anticlimactic, I think, and it was very slow for the most part, and it had a lot more to do with the love story that I just really don't give a shit about in this series. So I don't know, it was just kind of meh for me. It felt like the very last Harry Potter movie, the one that was the second half of the last book, where it was kind of just the culmination of like what happened in the first two books, and I was kind of like, okay, whatever. The next thing that I finished was The Valiant by Leslie Livingston, and I already have a full review up of this, which I will leave a link to down below if you want to hear more, but I loved this book. This is just such a good book. It really did everything right for me, I thought, in so many ways. If you don't know, this follows the story of Fallon, who basically gets sold as a gladiator in ancient Rome. And this book, combined with a lot of the books that I read this month, really brought home the fact that there were a lot of cultures and eras that had warrior women who we barely hear anything about, and I thought that that was just so fascinating. Unfortunately, what goes up must also come down. The next book that I read this month was The Potion Diaries by Amy Alward, and I basically picked this up off my shelves because I had to wait here for 4 hours for the plumber and for a mattress delivery, and I kind of thought, well, nothing that I'm currently reading is really something I feel like reading right now for like a straight 4 hours. So I kind of thought, well, what on my shelf might be just something purely like entertaining that I might want to read for like 4 hours. So I grabbed this, and for the entertainment aspect, it was good. Like, if you just want something to get you through a few hours that's like just entertaining, then that's awesome. That's the only reason that it even got 2.5 stars that I gave it. So basically, this book is about a setting that is a little bit like The Last Dragon Slayer by Jasper Fforde, in which we get a modern society with like cars and buses and whatnot and the internet, but it's in a medieval-esque like monarchy with like magic and other fantasy elements. So this follows the story of Sam, who is an alchemist from a family that was formerly the prestigious alchemy family in this world. There is a princess of this kingdom who has taken a love potion mistakenly and fallen in love with her reflection. So basically, Sam is part of a hunt along with a bunch of other alchemists to find the cure for the potion that the princess took. And basically, I didn't like the fact that the characters just had absolutely no personality. I mean, Sam is the only one with even an inkling of a personality, but even then she has just such a generic, like, nerd girl personality anyway. So basically, whenever somebody did something unexpected, it wasn't really unexpected because the people don't have personalities in this. And then basically also the magic system and the alchemy system are just not anything. They're not explained at all. And so basically in this book, we have this alchemy system that we absolutely get no real introduction to whatsoever, so we really never find out why it is that Sam and her fellow alchemists looking for the cure are how they know what the next ingredient is that they're looking for or anything. And seemingly they are trying to recreate the exact thing that the princess took, basically, when they only at the beginning know what the one ingredient is that she wrote down. And then I failed to understand like why the one like why recreating the exact potion that they took really did, and like why is that the way that this works. And so the whole thing just made no sense um, for a whole bunch of reasons. But basically, I just did not care about the story at all. But for just being entertainment, it was actually like that was its only strong point, that it was like entertaining. The next book that I read in the latter half of February, however, did not even have that, and that was Bullet Catcher. And I was so disappointed in this book for a whole bunch of reasons, a lot of which are the same as the book that I just talked about, in which basically the characters have absolutely no personalities. So if someone does something that's seemingly unexpected, it's not really unexpected because we don't know what that character's personality is because they don't have one. So then basically also this book was really, really boring all the way through. Like I found myself constantly like rereading what I had just read because I spaced out while reading it. Like it was just super, super boring. And then also, this is supposed to be like a Wild West setting, but we are not really told at all whether it's a fantasy world or whether it is the actual Wild West, because it kind of like has elements of both. So I couldn't really tell the entire time if it was magical realism or fantasy. So basically we get cities with names like Las Pistolas and other stuff that's like Spanishy sounding, but there are no Mexicans, basically, and nor is there any sort of place names at all besides cities mentioned in this at all. So the entire time I could not tell if it was kind of a magical realism-y version of the Wild West or if it was straight up a fantasy world with a Wild West setting. Like, I could not tell for the life of me. The last two books that I finished in the month of February were also audiobooks, the first of which is The Martian Chronicles by Ray Bradbury, and I really, really enjoyed this. This is a collection of short stories that are all connected, basically about people colonizing Mars. They are all very different from each other, but they are all connected at the same time. They are so thought-provoking and just so weird, and this is just absolutely a work of genius, and I loved it. And the last book that I read in February that I think it might be actually my favorite one of 2017 so far, and that is Soldier Girls by Helen Thorpe. And this follows the story, the true story of three women who joined the Army National Guard and went to Afghanistan and Iraq. And so basically I was just so fascinated by this book and by these various women's like motivations of joining the National Guard. So like one just really always wanted to be in the Army, like one only did it to pay for college and it was really not like her thing, but at the same time it like rocked her entire world basically and she was never the same, etc, etc. Like they're all very different, they're all different ages, they all come from different backgrounds, and so I'm going to tell you a story that not a lot of people know, but little middle school me wanted to join the Army, or at least like considered it as a possible thing that I could do. And then when I was 13 and the US went to war with Iraq, I thought, okay, you know what, maybe I won't join the Army because, like, never had I even heard of a war that was that undeserved, in my opinion. Like, I thought that was just such bullshit that even happened. And also since there were some, like, whispers going around that Iran could be next, and that's where my mom came from, so I was like, yeah, no, I'm not aiding in any sort of thing against Iran at all. If I had been a little bit older, like if I had been old enough to join the Army before that happened, like easily these women's stories could have been mine, maybe, if like I hadn't been presented with college as like the only option, or if I hadn't been able to pay for it or whatever. Like, and because even today, like as a 28-year-old, I still find myself thinking like, you know, if I didn't have a husband and a band and whatnot, like, I would totally seriously be considering joining the Army, because it's always been kind of that thing in the background that, like, I could have lived with doing easily, like, I could have been happy doing it. So basically, though, like, I was super, super fascinated by this book. I loved reading this. I loved reading about these women, and all of their friends and everything that happened to them. So I highly, highly recommend Soldier Girls by Helen Thorpe. So anyway, you guys, those are the books that I read in the latter half of February of 2017. Let me know if you've read any of these books and what your thoughts are, and let me know what your favorite book you read this month is, and I will see you again very soon with a new video. Bye!